Why did you list yourself as an American Indian on this Texas bar application?
So this was about 30 years ago, and I am not a tribal citizen. Tribes and only tribes determine citizenship. When I was growing up in Oklahoma, I learned about my family the same way most people do. My brothers and I learned from our mom and our dad and our brothers and our sisters, and those were our family stories. But that said, there really is an important distinction of tribal citizenship. I am not a member of a tribe, and I have apologized for not being more sensitive to that distinction. It's an important distinction.
The president has made the case that you've used this part of your background to get ahead. Are you saying that this is something you fundamentally believed about yourself, or how do you respond to that criticism, that this was a knowing attempt to get ahead by using that claim of ancestry?
So that is a claim that has been fully investigated, and it has now been shown completely that nothing about my background ever had anything to do with any job I got in any place. It's been fully documented, and there's no evidence of any kind other than it had nothing to do. My background has nothing to do.
Are there any more documents or any more forms like this out there that you have listed yourself as that could come out?
Look, this is who I grew up believing with my brothers. This is our family story. And it's all consistent from that point in time. But as I said, it's important to note I'm not a tribal citizen, and I should have been more mindful of the distinction with tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty. And that is why I apologize to Chief Baker and why I've made a very public apology.
Senator, does that
more forms like this?
I'm sorry?
Could there be other documents out there with you self-identifying as American Indian?
So all I know is during this time period, this is consistent with what I did because it was based on my understanding from my family's stories. But family stories are not the same as tribal citizenship, and this is why I have apologized both to Chief Baker, who was very gracious about it, and have apologized publicly.
But Senator, this most recent incident just came out yesterday. Have you spoken with him, with Chief Baker, since this new incident was released? And have you heard from any Native American tribes or groups today since that information came out yesterday?
So I haven't spoken with anyone since I saw this information, no. But my apology is an apology for not having been more sensitive about tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty. I really want to underline the point. Tribes and only tribes determine tribal citizenship. It is an issue of tribal sovereignty.
How do you think voters will react to this?
I'm sorry? Oh,
How do you
okay.
think voters will react to this?
You know, I'm sure there are pundits who will have an answer for that. But understand, this is from the heart. This is about my family, my brothers, and it is about an apology from the heart. An apology for not being more sensitive to tribal citizenship and tribal sovereignty, and for harm caused.
Have you considered dropping out of the race?
Wow. Senator Elizabeth Warren, remember, it's just this Saturday she plans to announce her plans officially to run for president. She continues to be hit by what she wrote. That was in reference to something she wrote 33 years ago for the Texas Bar Association, writing for herself Native American. This was all uncovered by the Washington Post. It's the first document that appears to show that she was trying to claim, her ancestry as an ethnic minority. But how will this play for her moving forward? Manu Raju is our senior congressional correspondent up on Capitol Hill, and you heard that last question. Have you thought about, dropping out? And that's when she walks away. But, she has wholeheartedly apologized. She apologized to the Cherokee Nation, but still this continues to dog her.
Yeah, for 6 years, this has been dogging her, more than 6 years, since she was initially ran for the Senate in 2012. She had a very difficult time explaining that at that moment about exactly what happened here, about the fact that she was listed as a Native American during her early part of her teaching career. Last year she tried to put this behind her. They assisted with an investigation into her past by the Boston Globe, looking at whether or not her issue of race helped elevate her in her career. That investigation said it did not. It was not a factor in how she was ascended in her career. But then she put out that DNA test last fall showing that she had some Native American ancestry, distant ancestry, and that only led to more criticism, and that led to her apology to the Cherokee Nation last week, saying that she did not mean to offend them, did not mean to confuse the issue between tribal sovereignty and being a member of a tribe and just simply having some tribe and native roots. I caught up with her this week, and she said that she wanted to make that very clear to them about that. And you hear her now suggest that perhaps there may be other things that may come out showing that she did list herself as a native, and that as they continue to come out, of course, this will continue to be an issue going forward. I can tell you, Brooke, I just caught up with two of her rivals in this presidential race, Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, and I asked Kamala Harris about this. She claimed she didn't see, she wasn't aware of this. I said, well, isn't electability an issue in this 2020 race, and shouldn't Warren and voters be concerned about that? And she said that no, essentially. She said it's mostly a distraction. The voters want to focus on the issues. And Cory Booker escaped onto an elevator and said he hadn't seen any of this, the new headlines, so he claimed ignorance on it. So it looks like some of her rivals will not use it against her, but we'll see how voters react when they start to digest some of this news over the next several days here, Brooke.
Manu, thank you so much for that quick reaction. MJ Lee has just been seated. You've been covering the senator as well. How much do you think this will hurt her electability?
Look, I think a lot of what happens for Senator Warren going forward will depend on whether there are other forms like this lying around that have not yet been reported on, right? We didn't expect that there might be a form like the one that we've been talking about all day today, where she filled out this card and in her own writing wrote that she was American Indian. I think having that visual really makes it very different for us to be talking about this issue with. It's different from us sort of imagining, you know, a box having been checked. When you're really seeing it that clearly in writing, I think it really does strike a different tone. And I think, frankly, her team has been figuring out, and her, you know, the candidate herself, Senator Warren, has been trying to figure out for a while now what is the best way to deal with this, because it really, really genuinely is a very sensitive issue. It is an issue that has upset a lot of people, and she clearly does not want to come off as being insensitive to these issues. And politically speaking, it's something that she has to confront. But the fact that her announcement is coming on Saturday and she's still having to do this is
an issue.
problematic. Yeah.